The trial of 49 alleged members of a criminal gang linked to the Hells Angels began on Monday at a packed session of Spain's High Court.
Beneath the facade of a male-dominated gang, the Hells Angels is home to several fearless women who have earned their brothers' respect with their chilling acts and exemplary wit. Get ready to meet 10 notorious female Hells Angels who can give their male counterparts a run for their money. The Hells Angels have a no-women policy, but this rule has been bent several times for women who have proved their mettle against all odds. While it appears to the world that Hells Angels is operated by men only, these female shadowy figures are spoken of in hushed tones and feared by all members alike. Number 1. Molly Mad Dog McDougal. In the world of outlaw motorcycle clubs, ferocity and fearlessness are mandatory, because unless you live up to the expectations of a brutal biker, you get neither respect nor acceptance within their inner circles. But Molly was born a daredevil leader, which made her a perfect fit for the notorious Hells Angels Club. Born in the rural outskirts of Georgia, Molly learned to survive despite intense challenges and criticizing voices that resounded in her head. Her tough childhood further honed her skills, making her a determined and fearless young woman, ready to take on the world. The freedom and brotherhood within the Hells Angels attracted Molly, who wished to be a part of something bigger than herself. She needed a place where she was understood and not judged, a place she could call home. But getting into the Hells Angels Club wasn't at all easy, and it was up to Molly to prove her worth to other members. At about the same time, a local gang had been causing the club trouble, and Molly took it upon herself to deal with them. What followed was a deadly war, where Molly rose contrary to expectations and defeated the rival gang single-handedly. She was fierce and unstoppable, a brutal force to reckon with. Not only did she secure a spot in the club, but her stunts also earned her the moniker Mad Dog. Molly's unpredictable nature and determination to protect the club's reputation and its members at all costs made her a legend within the male-dominated Hells Angels. The Hells Angels were like family for the Mad Dog, and she was known for going to extreme lengths to protect her brothers and sisters. Naturally, Molly's violent behavior made her a regular target with law enforcement authorities, but she was a seasoned player who knew how to get out of sticky situations unharmed. One of her most popular escapes involved a high-speed chase with law enforcement that ended with Molly evading capture by executing a daring jump across a collapsed bridge. The insane incident, captured on video, proved pivotal in cementing Molly's reputation as a daredevil. It made her one of the underworld motorcycle club's most respected and feared figures. The next female biker on our list used uncanny wit and determination to carve her name among the most feared members of all time. Number 2. Sandy Serpent Sullivan. Sandy had known the Hells Angels all her life. Raised by a father who was a Hells Angels member, Sandy grew up listening to stories about the brotherhood, freedom, loyalty, and open roads with her brother. Ever since she was a little girl, hustling on the formidable streets of Los Angeles, Sandy dreamt of being a Hells Angel one day. But that dream came true when she turned 18 and entered the folds of the prestigious motorcycle club. But getting in wasn't that easy because Angels had a notorious reputation, and anyone who couldn't live up to that was deemed unworthy. However, notoriety came naturally to Sandy as she used her exceptional wit and ferocious demeanor to get things done for the club. Sandy was given the title Serpent because she was cunning and quick and would strike her enemies before they had a chance to react. Her uncanny ability to read people and convince them to see her way proved very useful when the Hells Angels came to blows with a rival gang, the Mongols. The two gangs were in a territorial dispute and tensions ran sky high. The chances of a bloodbath were obvious, but the Serpent did the unthinkable. She successfully managed to diffuse the palpable tension without harming a single person. Using her cunning to maneuver the Mongols, she exploited the internal strife between the rival gang and turned its members against each other. And while the Mongols fought between themselves, Sandy claimed the disputed territory for the Hells Angels. Sandy's fearless attitude, combined with her constant need to fight against prejudice from within her gang, took her reign to new heights, inviting allegations of revolts, intimidation, and even murder. However, the authorities could not prove a thing, and the Serpent always remained one step ahead of her pursuers every turn of the way. The next biker possessed a skill highly prized in the motorcycle underworld. Can you guess what it is? Number 3. Lena Lethal Lawson. Here's another woman who challenged the status quo within a male-dominated motorcycle club. Lena Lawson belonged to the snow-capped peaks of Alaska, where she realized early on that she was meant for great things. Her skills were unique and she had a natural talent for mechanics. From a very young age, Lena could manipulate, reassemble, and repair even the most complex technicalities relating to motorcycles. Her love for riding motorbikes and exceptional mechanical skills made her a perfect fit for the Hells Angels. And the same skill set set her apart from her peers and earned her respect within the all-men gang. However, her technical skills were no match for her ferocious resilience in the face of extreme violence. Her efficiency in dealing with threats and withstanding even the most brutal circumstances earned her the nickname Lethal. Lena was fearless, and how she handled violence shocked angels and rival gangs alike. Although she preferred to make peace with the opposition, she was never known to shy away from a fight. Since the Hells Angels are constantly fighting for turf with other gangs, Lena's tenacity proved valuable in several enemy ambushes, where she not only averted danger, but turned the tables on her rivals. Lena was a powerful ally and a lethal enemy, making her popular with the Hells Angels. However, her journey wasn't without controversy. Her position in the club often made her the target of law enforcement agencies, and she was constantly under surveillance. But despite her continuous presence on the wanted list, Lena managed to avoid charges and remained valiant in her quest for power and recognition. Lena was the perfect example of a Hells Angel, and she paved the way for other women in the club. Her refusal to back down and succumb to societal norms and fierce loyalty to the gang made her a force to reckon with. Coming up next is a female biker that was unstoppable, even for her male counterparts. Number 4. Rosie Road Rage Ramirez. It's impossible to talk about notorious female Hells Angels without mentioning the bold Rosie Ramirez. Hailing from Arizona's burned landscapes, Rosie had a rough childhood that she mainly spent at home or on the back of a motorbike. Rebellious and always looking for ways to prove herself, Rosie knew precisely how to navigate a male-dominated society, which helped her become a feared member of the all-men Hells Angels motorcycle club. It's not easy to be a woman in a man's world, but Rosie's fierce passion and reckless bravery helped her earn the respect of her peers within the club. More than her courage, Rosie's fighting spirit scared rival gangs who repeatedly failed to overpower and outwit her. But apart from her ability to win fights, she was known for her speed and brutality with law enforcement agencies. One time, the Hells Angels got involved in a serious confrontation with a rival gang, and Rosie was in the center of it. The Brotherhood was outnumbered and outgunned, but Rosie charged in and defeated the opponents against all odds. Where, on the one hand, her aggressive streak earned her respect and fear in the underworld, on the other hand, she was constantly on the authorities' radar. Rosie was one of the most wanted Hells Angels in her prime, and despite repeated efforts from law enforcement agencies to bring her down, she survived and remained in the game undeterred and unrepentant. The next female biker did the unthinkable and won the trust of her peers against great odds. Number 5. Daisy Death Wish Donovan. The Hells Angels pride themselves on its members' unwavering loyalty and unity, but only some people rise to the occasion when things get rough. However, there's one female angel who places loyalty and the importance of brotherhood above everything else: Daisy Donovan. Daisy was born in the rugged terrain of Colorado and knew how to make her way with courage and perseverance. Her passion for open roads and motorbikes encouraged her to join the notorious Hells Angels. After all, there was no other way to satisfy the adrenaline rush of riding a motorbike. Daisy craved adventure and never backed down from a challenging situation. Her fellows admired her fighting spirit, but more than admiration, it was her loyalty to the Brotherhood that commanded the utmost respect from other members. But how did Daisy get into the motorcycle club? Now, that's a story that highlights the extent to which Daisy was willing to go to prove her worth. In her few weeks in the club, a rival gang stole a prized motorcycle from the Hells Angels, and the only one who offered to bring it back from the lion's den was Daisy. She rode into the territory of the rival club and reclaimed the motorcycle to bring it home. Daisy achieved this remarkable feat without getting caught or compromised in any way. Her steadfastness in her ideals and complete disregard for dangerous situations earned her the moniker Death Wish within the club. All Daisy wanted to do was wear the Hells Angels leather jacket, let her hair down, and feel the thunderous engine of her motorcycle beneath her. If any danger came her way, she had what it took to face it alone, because she was used to living her life unapologetically and fearlessly. The Hells Angels was like her family. She was willing to protect the club's reputation and follow members at all costs. Her unflinching loyalty and support embodied everything the club stood for, and that also made her an easy target. Daisy constantly conflicted with law enforcement, but her craftiness ensured she was never arrested. Hence, she became a legend and an unstoppable figure in Hells Angels. The next female biker channeled her inner chaos and transformed the hierarchy within the Hells Angels. Number 6. Angie Anarchy Anderson. In a world where chaos reigns supreme and order is more like a dream than reality, Angie Anderson was a woman who not only embraced anarchy, but thrived in it. Born in the heart of Detroit, Angie always dreamt of a world where societal norms didn't exist, and she was free to live her life on her terms. That's exactly what drew her to the Hells Angels. Angie looked at the Angels as a band of brotherhood who were loyal to each other, but lived a rebellious and free life. And it was in the urban jungle where Angie began her journey within the Hells Angels. Can you guess her superpower? Her unpredictability and thirst for chaos set her apart from everyone else. Nobody ever knew how Angie would react to a situation, and that kept them all guessing. Angie was a self-professed anarchist who didn't care about order or norms, making her a formidable opponent for rival gangs. It was her rebellious spirit and unapologetic love for chaos that earned her the nickname Anarchy, and she couldn't be happier about it. Angie was a wild child who could easily disrupt the most carefully laid plans, and her adversaries learned that the hard way. Every time the Hells Angels were involved in skirmishes with rival gangs, Angie surprised everyone with unconventional tactics and unpredictable maneuvers. While that always went in favor of the Hells Angels, it often left their opponents confused, disorientated, and vulnerable to danger. Not only did her rivals fear her, but Angie was a nightmare for the government and law enforcement agencies. Despite several close brushes with the authorities, Angie also managed to get away unscathed. She was exceptionally cunning and resourceful, traits that came in extremely handy as she was frequently on the radar of law enforcement agencies. Although she was known for her erratic behavior, it never came in the way of her loyalty towards the Hells Angels. She considered the club her family, and her unwavering allegiance made Angie Anarchy Anderson a legend in the outlaw motorcycle world. But Angie wasn't the only fearless woman in the Hells Angels. Our next female biker could easily give rivals a run for their money. Number 7. Fiona Firebrand Fitzpatrick. Fiona was from the city of Chicago, and from a young age, she knew she was different from her siblings. She refused to accept societal norms and concede to expectations. Instead, she rebelled against everything generally acceptable and carved her own way throughout life. Her deadly determination and rebellious streak meant the Hells Angels were perfect for her. However, entry and survival weren't as easy since it was an all-men club. But Fiona wasn't built for easy anyway. She decided to find a brotherhood where she could fully explore her love for motorbikes without being held back by the ideas of what a girl can and cannot be. She joined the Hells Angels ranks and made her way up slowly, riding alongside the men and challenging the club's no women policy. She was fearless, and her presence was enough to inspire admiration and awe. Fiona was known for her searing speeches and outspoken arguments, a trait that earned her the nickname Firebrand within the club. Other members knew better than to clash with her and invite trouble for themselves. Instead, they encouraged her to respond to her true calling in the club and carve out change with her words. But Firebrand wasn't about just words. She believed in swift action and noise that forced others to listen. Fiona was known to lead the Hells Angels on several occasions, leading rallies against rival gangs and pushing fellow Angels to fight with everything. But her true colors shone after 2013, when the National Gang Reports from the International Center in the US declared outlaw motorcycle gangs the most dangerous in all the state's jurisdiction. The report triggered a citywide crackdown on motorcycle gangs. While on the one hand, rival gangs were cracking down under pressure, on the other hand, Fiona led the Hells Angels on a series of fiery protests and rallies, loudly criticizing the effects of the crackdown policy. In the end, the authorities were forced to back down, and Fiona's protest showed tangible results, bringing the crackdown to a halt. But Fiona's fighting spirit came at a cost, as authorities constantly haunted her. But strong and undeterred, she continued to lead by example, paving the way for fearless women in the Hells Angels. There was another ferocious angel, just like Fiona, who lived on her terms and instilled fear in the hearts of rival gangs. Number 8. Nina Nightmare Nicholson. When you combine chilling intellect with unabashed violence, the result is a lethal force that nobody wants to mess with, and Nina Nicholson is the perfect example. Nina was from New Orleans, and her tough childhood, poverty, and despair turned her into a cold and calculative woman. Used to witnessing and bearing hostility and violence from a tender age, Nina taught herself the survival skills needed to navigate her world's reality. She learned the mastery of weaponry and honed her instincts to smell danger from afar. She was beguilingly swift and executed the most elaborate plans with surprising precision and brutality. When the Hells Angels heard of Nina, they knew what an asset she could prove to be over time. Hence, they decided to make her part of the club. Her quick responses weren't limited to mind games, but she was equally fast on the road, navigating through dark alleys and eluding her foes until they got tired of the search. Nina possessed an unparalleled sharp wit, a skill that helped her defeat many rival gangs and led her group members to victory. It was impossible to contain her, and this fear within the club earned her the moniker Nightmare. But she was not just feared, but respected by other angels because of the numerous landslide victories she led the gang to, all thanks to her foolproof and violent strategies. Since Nina remained at the forefront of many battles, authorities were desperate to get their hands on her. But capturing Nina was impossible, as she would vanish into thin air, leaving the cops guessing her whereabouts. She's still spoken of today in hushed tones, and members recall her as the Nightmare that unleashed its fury on rival gangs, claiming several victories for the Hells Angels and leaving behind a legacy of intense violence and brutality. The next female biker proved everyone wrong by showing she had the courage, wit, and grit to become a Hells Angel. Number 9. Tara Tornado Thompson. Coming from the vast plains of Texas, Tara Thompson learned to lead an independent life from a young age. Her grandparents raised her, and despite their best efforts, they could not tone down the chaos inside Tara's mind. Tara craved freedom and a family where she would be accepted just like she was, and the Hells Angels Club seemed the perfect place to go. There was something different about Tara. The club members could see an unchecked turmoil within her that could become an asset for the club against rival gangs. Her turbulent childhood had shaped her into a stormy force that constantly challenged accepted norms and ideologies. Tara eventually joined the ranks within the Hells Angels and began riding with her brotherhood. But her time was marked with internal strife and external threats from rival gangs. However, Tara had never learned to back down from a bad situation, and she decided to face all the challenges held at her head-on. Her peers began calling her Tornado because she was everywhere at once, creating havoc on unsuspecting rivals and leaving them confused and deranged. Tara led the Hells Angels to an astounding victory in one memorable encounter, highlighting her unmatched strategic prowess and proving her formidable presence in the club. However, Tara's violent temperament invited trouble from authorities who were always on her lookout. But even after several long pursuits, the cops couldn't get their hands on her, and just like her nickname, Tornado, she would disappear on the open roads, never to be seen again. Brace yourself, as we're about to meet a speed monster who carved her name on the roads with insane high-speed chases. Number 10. Brenda Breakneck Brooks. The one thing all outlaw motorcycle clubs revere is a biker's speed on the road, and the Hells Angels has seen some extremely talented bikers in its history. One of the greatest racers was Henry Brooke, but what the members didn't know then was that Henry's daughter would inherit his skills and beat him at the game. Brenda Brooks had known the Hells Angels Club since she was a child. A biker's way of life is all she'd seen growing up. Since her father, Henry, had been a prized member of the Hells Angels due to his insane racing skills, he was highly respected among his peers. Brenda wanted the same respect for herself. As a young girl, she loved riding a motorbike, but as she grew older, she nurtured and developed her skills to become a master of the road. Her speed and agility were unlike anything anyone had ever seen, and the Hells Angels were sure she would be a great heir to her father's legacy. But to everyone's surprise, she surpassed all records and managed to rise as the fastest member of the club. Her speed is crucial on the road, especially in high-speed confrontations with other outlaw gangs, and Brenda turned out to be the perfect weapon. She earned the moniker Breakneck because of her reckless and excessive speed on the motorcycle. One of her remarkable achievements was when a rival gang infiltrated the Hells Angels camp and stole a prized motorcycle. Although the thief had a 10-minute head start, he was no match for Brenda, who caught up with him and brought him to his knees. She not only retrieved the motorcycle, but earned the respect of her brothers and sisters from the club. Brenda never learned to back down, a trait that placed her face-to-face with law enforcement agencies on more than one occasion. But her incomparable speed left pursuing officers far behind, making Brenda Breakneck Brooks a legend in the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. That's all for today, folks. Thanks for joining us on this high-speed journey. Please remember to smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, and press the notification bell for more exciting Hells Angels videos.